Welcome back, everyone, to the 21st Century Man podcast. We're diving into another fascinating chapter today from our trusty guide, The 21st Century Man. And this time, we're tackling Chapter 17, Why You Should Care About Your Weight. Now, before you think this is going to be a lecture on calorie counting and guilt trips, I can assure you it's not.
It's really more about understanding the facts and how our weight can seriously impact, our health.
Right. So, we'll unpack some pretty impactful statements from experts like Tom Vilsack, who talks about the dangers of childhood obesity.
And then you have Dr. Judson Brandeis, who drops this bombshell that obesity has overtaken smoking as the #1 cause of preventable disease and disability worldwide. I mean, that's a pretty huge statement, right?
You know, when I first read that, I was kind of blown away, to be honest, like bigger than starvation globally. But as we dig into this chapter, it becomes clear that this isn't about shaming anyone. It's really about providing you with solid info so you can make the best decisions for your own health.
Exactly. And I think the book does a great job of emphasizing that. It's all about empowering you to take control, if you feel like your weight might be holding you back.
So let's get into some of the nitty-gritty here. The book really paints a stark picture of just how widespread this issue is. Global obesity has almost doubled in the last 40 years.
Yeah, the numbers are pretty alarming. In the U.S., it's gone from about 20% in the 80s to nearly 40% in 2020. And it's not just one age group either.
Oh, absolutely. And the book points that out, with some pretty clear stats. For example, in 2018, almost 45% of middle-aged adults between 40 and 59 were obese.
And get this, even among older adults, those 60 and over, the rate was still super high at like 43%.
So this is a pretty widespread issue. And the projections for the future, well, they don't look too good either. The book projects that by 2030, half of all U.S. adults could be obese, and a quarter of those will fall into the severely obese category.
That's a pretty sobering thought, and it really highlights why it's so important to address this now.
So yeah, we've got the scale of the problem. But what does this really mean for, for the individual?
Well, the book goes into a lot of detail about the very real suffering that can come with weight issues. It's linked to a whopping 230 health conditions. We're talking physical, emotional, psychological, even social suffering.
So it's not just about, fitting into your favorite jeans.
Right. It's way more than that. It's about your overall well-being.
Yeah, I think the chapter makes that very clear. And there's a financial burden as well. I mean, the book mentions that obesity cost the U.S. an estimated $1.4 trillion in 2017. Healthcare, lost productivity, lower income, you name it.
And a Swedish study cited in the book really brings it home. Obese individuals were like 3 times more likely to need disability pensions. They also used twice as many sick days and had way higher healthcare costs.
Wow. So this is impacting people's wallets as well as their health.
Yeah, it's a multifaceted issue, no doubt about that.
Okay, so let's get into the nitty-gritty of the health risks. One thing the book talks about is insulin resistance. Now, this is a term that gets thrown around a lot. Can you break it down for us?
Sure. So insulin is this hormone that helps your body use glucose, sugar, for energy. When you have insulin resistance, your cells basically don't respond to insulin as well as they should. And this can make it hard for your body to control blood sugar levels, which can lead to prediabetes, which can, in turn, lead to full-blown diabetes.
And that's not good, obviously.
No, not at all. And unfortunately, as the chapter highlights, it's only the tip of the iceberg.
Yeah, so the book lays out a pretty long list of health conditions that are linked to obesity. Type 2 diabetes, sleep apnea, high blood pressure, high cholesterol, heart disease, stroke, cancer, dementia, even early death. And it's not just those big-name diseases.
Right. You also have things like back problems, knee replacements, all kinds of musculoskeletal issues.
And the book mentions that even when surgery is needed, outcomes are often worse for people who are obese.
Yeah, and it goes deeper than just the physical stuff, too. Obesity can mess with your body chemistry, leading to lower testosterone in men and a higher risk of depression, which the book suggests could be partially due to unstable blood sugar.
So this is affecting people on multiple levels. It's not just, a physical issue.
Exactly. But the good news is, as the book emphasizes, losing weight can significantly reduce the risk of all these problems. It's never too late to start making positive changes.
So how can listeners figure out where they stand? How can they assess their own risk?
Well, the book gives some really practical tools for that. One is measuring your waist circumference.
So like grab a tape measure.
Exactly. And the book says that for men, over 40 inches is considered high risk.
And that could signal an increased chance of heart disease, right?
Yeah, that's right. It's a pretty simple measurement to take, and it can give you a good idea of where you stand.
Okay, what else? What other tools does the book recommend?
Well, there's the waist to hip ratio. This one compares your waist measurement at its narrowest point to your hip measurement at its widest.
So like, are my hips bigger than my waist?
Basically, yeah. And for men, your waist shouldn't be larger than your hips.
Okay, got it. And why is that important?
Because, as the book explains, a larger waist in relation to your hips indicates more abdominal fat, and that's a big predictor of type 2 diabetes.
Interesting. So this ratio gives you a better idea of how your body's storing fat.
Right, exactly. It's a more nuanced way of looking at things than just weight alone.
And then there's the one everyone's heard of, right? BMI, or body mass index. The book explains this as a pretty standard tool, and there are tons of calculators online.
Yeah, BMI is basically your weight in kilograms divided by your height in meters squared.
And the book points out that a BMI of 25 to 29.9 is considered overweight.
And 30 or higher is classified as obese.
Now, I know BMI gets some criticism, right? Because it doesn't always tell the whole story.
Yeah, that's true. Like, a very muscular person might have a high BMI but not be unhealthy, you know? But overall, as the book shows, it's still a pretty useful tool for assessing risk on a large scale.
And the data in the book certainly supports that. I mean, it cites some pretty compelling research showing that a higher BMI is linked to a greater risk of death from all causes, especially heart disease.
Yeah, like that study that followed nearly 1 million adults for 8 years. The lowest mortality rates were among men with a BMI between 22 and 25.
And for every 5 kilo per unit of core increase beyond that, their risk of death went up by a whopping 30%. Those are some powerful statistics.
They really are. And when you start looking at the impact on life expectancy, it gets even more sobering.
Oh, yeah. The book mentions that men with a BMI of 30 to 35, which is in the obese range, can expect to live 2 to 4 years less.
And for those with a BMI of 40 to 45, that's severe obesity, their lifespan can be cut short by 8 to 10 years.
Wow. That's a lot of time. And it underscores, how serious this is.
Absolutely. And the book drives home the point that the younger you are when you become obese and the longer you live with it, the more potential years of life you stand to lose. It's not just about how long you live, but how well you live those years. The medical problems associated with obesity often lead to a loss of function, less productivity, and a poorer quality of life overall.
So it's not just about quantity, it's about quality as well.
Exactly.
Okay, so let's get into some specific conditions. The book spends a lot of time on type 2 diabetes.
Right. It points out that obesity is the culprit behind over 80% of cases.
That's a huge percentage.
Yeah, it is. But here's the thing. The book also says that losing weight can often reverse type 2 diabetes. That's some serious motivation right there.
For sure. And then there's blood pressure. The book talks about how obesity, particularly abdominal obesity, which is common in men, can raise blood pressure, putting more stress on your heart.
And that, of course, ties in with the increased risk of heart disease. The chapter mentions coronary artery disease, heart failure, even death from heart disease, all linked to a higher BMI. And then you have the increased risk of stroke and various types of cancer.
The book also talks about some I guess you could say less obvious consequences, like the impact on brain function.
Yeah, there's this thing called glycation. Basically, excess sugar molecules attached to proteins, making tissues, including brain tissue, stiffer and less flexible.
So it's kind of like your brain gets a bit less agile.
Exactly. And the book suggests that this might be a factor in mild cognitive impairment. It's pretty fascinating. And then there are the social and emotional impacts, too, like increased risk of depression and potential job discrimination, which the book touches on as well.
It's amazing how many different facets of life this touches on.
It really is.
Yeah.
And let's not forget about the pain aspect. Chronic pain, to be precise. The book highlights that obesity is a major risk factor for ongoing pain, almost doubling the risk in older adults. Yeah, it's no joke. And this pain can affect all sorts of tissues, tendons, ligaments, even making existing muscle and joint pain worse. It can really impact your daily life, how comfortable you feel, and what you're able to do.
So let's talk about joint damage. Osteoarthritis is one of the big ones, right?
Yeah. The book explains that carrying extra weight puts way more stress on your joints, especially your knees. In fact, it says that for every extra pound you carry, there's an extra 4 to 6 pounds of pressure on each knee.
That makes sense. More weight, more stress.
Right. And over time, that really takes its toll. The book estimates that obese men are 8.5 times more likely to need a knee replacement compared to men with a healthy weight. And it's not just osteoarthritis either. Being overweight also increases your chances of accidental injuries, sprains, strains, all that fun stuff.
And then, of course, if you do end up needing surgery, well, that could be more complicated too, right?
Right.
Yeah. The book talks about how people with morbid obesity often need hip and knee replacements a whole decade earlier than those with a healthy BMI. And it's not just the mechanical stress either. Obesity comes with inflammation, which can mess with the body's ability to repair and maintain joint tissues. That contributes to pain, especially back pain.
And the book mentions meniscal tears, rotator cuff tendonitis, all kinds of things that often require surgery. But the really concerning part is the increased risk of complications, like infections after surgery.
Yeah, and even the risk of the surgery itself failing. The book really drives home the point that it's crucial to manage your weight even before you start thinking about surgery for other problems.
So this has been quite a deep dive into the realities of weight and health.
Hmm.
What are some key takeaways, from this chapter?
Well, I think the biggest one is just how serious an issue obesity is. It's a global epidemic that's impacting people's lives in countless ways, from their physical health to their mental well-being, even their finances.
Yeah, I think the book does a great job of laying all that out.
And it also emphasizes that even small amounts of weight loss can make a huge difference. Every pound lost helps reduce the risk of all sorts of problems, joint issues, heart problems, diabetes, the list goes on.
So it's not about becoming a marathon runner overnight.
Right. It's about making sustainable changes one step at a time.
This chapter in The 21st Century Man is a real eye-opener. It presents a compelling argument for why taking care of your weight is absolutely essential for your long-term health. And I highly recommend checking out the full chapter for, the complete picture.
I second that. It's packed with valuable information and insights that can help you make informed decisions about your health.
So I hope this deep dive into Chapter 17 has given you, some food for thought. If you're looking for more guidance on this topic, we highly recommend picking up a copy of The 21st Century Man. It's a fantastic resource for, just about every aspect of men's health.
Yeah, it really is a great guide for navigating the challenges of modern manhood.
And make sure to join us next time as we explore Chapter 18, Avoiding Diabetes. That's going to be another important one, so we look forward to diving into that with you then.
Yeah, looking forward to it.
Until then, take care.
See you next time.